你们知道为什么有那么多男的
Do you know why so many men, once they make money and their careers take off, and when their situation improves, the first thing they do is divorce their original wife? People are only afraid of the final result and never try to understand why this happened. They always think that men are cruel and that when they have money they become bad people. But why haven't you thought that in some cases there are men who, when they get rich, treat their wives even better? Don't tell me you've never seen such an example. I'll explain to you. The logic is actually simple. You are only seeing the result of this event, but you haven't stopped to think about what happened 10 years ago when they were in love. What kind of humiliation did this man endure back then? About human nature I'll tell you, the law of conservation of energy. The more you hurt and harm someone, that person might keep trying to be good, but the hatred will accumulate. He will swallow this hatred, continue being good, but the seed of resentment has already been planted. He will wait for the right moment. When he has money, the first thing he will do is leave you. And when he has money, he really will do this. You will ask yourself, how did I end up with such a cruel man? Men turn bad after they get money. Have you ever thought about what you did to make him feel that way? Maybe you didn't even realize it. I always say, you don't understand human nature, which is why you can't manage relationships. Either you think people are extremely bad, or you believe everyone is kind and good. But it's not like that. I tell you, human nature is pretty much the same in all of us. If you activate the good side of a person, they will be good to you. If you activate the bad side, they will be bad. When you want to move forward with someone, don't trigger their bad side. As soon as you awaken that resentment, they will remember it. When they have the opportunity, they will take revenge because the law of conservation of energy will apply. If you hurt the person in the future, they will hurt you back. That's the point. Many girls don't understand this before marriage. Because of the dowry wanting to show power, they argue with the man's family but still want to marry him. They've already hurt the man and still think of marrying him. I don't know what you're thinking. The seed of resentment has already been planted and you still want to get married. Are you afraid your family is too good? Do you think this is the best for you? I think these women are the most foolish. If you didn't want to create that resentment, you should have been more generous and married peacefully. Or, otherwise, you should have stood firm until the end. But don't marry when the situation has already become so messy and ugly. When everything is torn apart and things have gotten very ugly, and you still say, I can't live without him, I have to marry him. I tell you, this kind of woman will hardly have a good outcome in marriage.
After a man becomes wealthy, doesn't he think about abandoning his original partner? Of course, at some point, he must have thought about changing partners, for example, when they argue, or when another woman appears in his life, and he feels like the connection with her is much more suitable. Now, can you guess why he didn't choose to be with that new woman? It's because he feels guilty. The man thinks, I'm a saint now, I have ability, talent, and money, and I can't just abandon my wife for no reason. So, when many men get rich and think about abandoning their original partner, it's because that woman has already drained the guilt he feels deep down. As long as that guilt exists, he won't have the courage to take that step. You'll notice that these wealthy men, when they return home, are extremely cold toward their wives. Back in the day, when he came home, he would try to impress you by talking about what he accomplished that day, how many things he got done, how many people he dealt with, how much money he earned, bragging about himself. If you don't praise him, that inner guilt starts to diminish a little because he wants his wife to be a virtuous woman. He comes home and starts bragging about everything he did during the day, and he wonders, why don't you praise me? All right, you're no longer that kind of woman, and from this moment on, he starts planning to break up with you.
Why do men, after becoming successful, abandon the woman who supported them through difficult times? This behavior seems really heartless, but in reality, there are complex psychological and real-life factors behind it. So, why do they make this choice? Firstly, these men are often driven by a sense of superiority. After achieving success, they begin to inflate their egos. They believe everything they've achieved is due to their own efforts, and then they ignore the sacrifices made by the people around them. The woman who stood by him during the tough times becomes something outdated in their eyes. They begin to chase novelty, mistakenly thinking the world outside will be better, and the wife at home becomes, in their mind, not good enough. Secondly, the environment that comes with success can also make them lose themselves. At the peak of their career, they are surrounded by flattery and praise, which makes them believe they deserve more and better life choices. The people around them are aware of his money, status, and resources, catering to his likes, offering sweet words that give him a false sense of superiority, making him wrongly believe he deserves a better love. But have you ever thought about this? These men have forgotten the most important thing. Without the woman who stood by them through hardship, they wouldn't be who they are today. She was the one who supported him unconditionally during his most difficult times, understood him, and even sacrificed her own dreams and freedom to help his career. She may have given up her job for the family or sacrificed her youth for the children. But she never complained, and when this man became successful, everything she did was downplayed and even turned into a reason for him to dislike her. What's even more regrettable is that this choice often brings deeper wounds to the woman. When the novelty fades and the other women lose their attraction, the man realizes that the woman who truly understood him and was willing to make sacrifices for him has already been pushed away by him. She lost the warmth of the marriage and even the sense of belonging to the family. By the time this happens, it will be too late. A truly mature and responsible man wouldn't forget his roots because of success. Success is not an individual glory, it's the result of the efforts of two people. The woman who stood by him during hardships is the most important treasure in his life. She is not only his wife, but also his partner. Family is the strongest pillar he has in his life. True happiness is not found in the external scenery, but in keeping the person who weathered the storms with you by your side. A man who knows how to be grateful is the only one who deserves true success. Life is long, so don't wait until you lose something to understand what true happiness and belonging are. That's very foolish.
Why do many wives end up becoming victims after their husbands achieve success? As a divorce attorney, I've seen many cases of women who stood by their husbands during tough times, only to be abandoned in the end. The lucky ones had husbands with some conscience and managed to get a share of the marital assets. The less fortunate were kicked out of their homes with nothing. The reason behind this is very real and also very cruel. First, a man who dares to abandon his wife is someone who feels she no longer brings any benefit to him. He believes that now that his wings are strong, his wife is no longer useful or suitable for him. This is why women should never, under any circumstances, abandon their own value. And I'm not just talking about value as a wife but value as an individual in society. This is the kind of value that is visible, that circulates, and that truly matters. Otherwise, no matter how good he is to you now or how sweet his words and promises may sound, the day the gap between you two becomes too great, his natural instincts will drive him to look down on you and weigh the pros and cons. Don't be naive, and never gamble on luck when it comes to human nature. Additionally, men who dare to abandon their wives usually do so when they know there will be no cost or consequences. They often act unscrupulously, especially towards women who lack support. Many of these women married far from their families, come from homes where love was scarce, and often have no relatives or friends nearby to stand up for them. They lack financial independence, have no careers of their own, and have dedicated their lives solely to raising children and managing the household. They don't even have financial control of the household, let alone the right to information. They don't know how much their husband earns or how much debt he may owe. In such situations, if the husband decides to abandon them, he faces no punishment. He knows that even if he transfers assets or falsifies debts, she won't be able to challenge him. She has no strength to fight back. And if, in a moment of despair, she contemplates harming herself, that would only make things easier for him, sparing him any further worries. This is why women should never enter a marriage lightly, especially one that puts them at a disadvantage. And after marriage, don't abandon your own value or allow yourself to become passive. Of course, you can dedicate yourself to your family and willingly sacrifice your time, opportunities, and career, but your contributions should never be treated as something obvious or taken for granted. The ideal approach is to protect yourself, perhaps through a marital property agreement or another plan that safeguards your rights. This way, the man will understand that he cannot easily disregard your dignity. Sometimes, the difference between being respected and not is simply being prepared to protect your own value. Do you know why so many men, as soon as they make money and reach the peak of their careers, the first thing they do is divorce their original wife? People only see the final result, the day it happens, but they don't ask why such a thing occurred. They always assume the man is just a scumbag, that money made him bad. But have you ever wondered why there are men who, when they become rich, treat their wives even better? Don't tell me you've never seen examples like that. Let me explain it simply. You only see the outcome, but have you ever thought to look back 10 or 20 years? Back when they were just dating, what kind of humiliation and suffering did that man endure? Let me tell you something about human nature. It works like the conservation of energy. The more blows and injuries you inflicted on him, the greater the hatred he accumulated. He might have endured it all in silence, without complaining, and continued being good to you. But the seed of resentment was already planted in his heart, growing and taking root. He held on to that feeling, thinking, when I have money, the first thing I'll do is replace her with someone else. And when he did make money, that's exactly what he did. One day, I heard a woman say, "How did I end up with such a scumbag?" She added, "Men become bad when they get money." But have you ever thought about what you might have done to him in the past? Maybe you're not even aware of it. That's why I always say, if you don't understand human nature, you won't manage a relationship well. You often see people as either completely good or completely bad. Or you assume everyone is inherently kind and incapable of such actions. Let me tell you something, people are more alike than you think. What changes is whether you awaken their good or bad side. If you bring out the good, they'll be good. If you bring out the bad, they can become bad. When you decide to challenge someone, don't awaken their negative side. Because once hatred is awakened, they'll hold on to it. And if they get the chance, they'll return the pain in equal measure because energy is conserved. The harm you caused will come back with the same intensity. Many women don't understand this before marriage. During the engagement, they fight with their fiancés over dowries or other matters. But in the end, they still want to marry them. After causing so much damage, they still expect the marriage to go well. Honestly, I don't understand what you're thinking. The seed of hatred is already planted, and you still want to marry him? It's like you're afraid of marrying too well, isn't it? In my opinion, such women are incredibly naive. If you wanted to get married, you shouldn't have awakened that hatred. You could have been more generous from the start and resolved everything peacefully. But if you chose to fight to the end, then you shouldn't marry. The worst is when the relationship has already become extremely ugly and degrading, and yet the woman insists on marrying him. Let me tell you this, women who act like that are unlikely to have a happy marriage.
Those men who change wives after getting rich are basically foolish and senseless. Why do I say this? Keep listening, and you'll understand. Don't forget to like and follow so you can watch this again later. Whether it's through the media or real life, we've all seen or heard that one of the typical signs of men who continue to thrive in middle age is respecting and cherishing their wives. Look at those men who switch wives after getting rich. They are truly heartless, ungrateful, and brainless. I'm not just speaking up for women here. I'm saying this because I see families on the verge of falling apart, and I'm also thinking about the men themselves. Let me break it down for you. If you think I make sense, give this a like. If you think I'm talking nonsense, just treat it like the wind blowing past. First of all, men who change wives after getting rich, your lifespan may shorten. I'm not saying this is scientifically proven, but it's my message to those small-minded men who get smug over a little money. Think about it. Who was by your side, working hard with you to build what you have today? So, here's my kind warning to those scumbags. Maybe your life won't necessarily get shorter, but losing your assets? That's inevitable. The money you worked so hard to earn. When you divorce, doesn't half of it disappear? Right? After decades of daily struggle, your assets will be cut in half because of this impulsive decision. And remember, you need to understand where your wealth comes from. Many men, after divorcing, whether in big or small businesses, start losing money. Why? Because the wealth you have now is the accumulation of what you and your wife built together. It's not just your brilliance. Stop bragging and saying, "She was just at home taking care of the kids. My career, my empire, I built it all on my own." Yeah, right. Have you heard that old song? I stood by the cradle of the baby, while you stood on the nation's front lines. I cultivated the fields back home, while you stood guard on duty. The Medal of Honor has half your credit and half mine. And what about taking care of kids at home? What's so wrong with that? Keeping the home running smoothly is what allowed you to build your empire peacefully. Now that you've built something, The person who kept the household running is suddenly worthless? She doesn't matter anymore? And what about the children's education? When you get divorced, what's destroyed is their original family. No matter how good the stepmother is and how supportive your whole family might be, it will never replace their biological mother. Your impulsive, foolish behavior could ruin your child's entire life. So, men who look down on their wives after getting rich, thinking all the credit belongs to you, only end up harming yourselves. This mindset directly leads to harm to yourselves, your wives, and your children. This is something no decent person should ever do. If you have this idea in your mind, I urge you to think again. At home, you still have a wife who cares about you. Men, cherish your partners and protect your families. You've got this.
Why do men look for other women when they get rich? Does every man turn bad when he has money? Many women say men with money become bad. That's why some wives control the household finances very strictly, fearing that their husbands, once wealthy, will seek out mistresses. But why do rich men tend to look for other women? Why do rich men look for other women? We can divide men into two categories: Phoenix men, those who came from poor families and achieved success on their own. Men from wealthy families, those who were born into an affluent environment. Phoenix men, these men grew up with many hardships. When they acquire wealth, they often turn to women as a way to compensate for the deprivation of their past. They may frequently change partners, seeking to satisfy their desires. However, after some time, they usually stabilize this behavior. Men from wealthy families, even those born into wealth, tend to seek other women. This happens because, over the course of marriage, the emotional bond between husband and wife can change. The relationship may shift into something more like that of relatives, and the romance can fade. As a result, many of these men keep their wives at home, but also support mistresses who understand them and provide comfort. Additionally, the pressure on wealthy men is immense. Making money is a stressful process, and they often seek a more stimulating life to relieve tension and continue advancing their careers. Does every man turn bad when he gets rich? Not all men become bad when they have money. Marriage can be compared to a business partnership. When the partners have aligned interests and goals, the business thrives. However, if the man advances more rapidly than the woman, the imbalance can lead to distance. When both partners have a strong foundation and grow together, a wealthy man is more likely to remain faithful, recognizing his partner's value. In such cases, even if the marriage faces challenges, separation is less likely. However, it is undeniable that when men become wealthy, they are surrounded by attractive women, increasing temptations. In the business world, the ability to interact well with other women is often seen as a professional advantage. This explains why some men choose extramarital relationships as part of their social and professional life. Now, I'd like to hear your opinion on this dilemma. Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next video.